Once Upon a Time, Big Sur, Chapter 4, read by Michael Houston. Gradually, with the swift passage of time, and even as Natalie Dubois knew it inevitably would, a keen interest in the identity of his father did awaken within Jean Noel. Natalie's evasiveness on the subject was facilitated, of course, by the boys being worlds away most of the year at boarding school in Paris, as well as safely ensconced in a Parisian suburb on weekends under the protective wing of her own doting mother and father. When Jean Noel did come to visit every summer, for 8 weeks at most, Natalie filled his every waking hour with constructive activities designed to keep the boy thoroughly engaged with the present, lest his mind should wander idly into the dangerous corridors of the past. Riding on a yellow school bus every day, he was sent to day camp at the Presbyterian Conference Grounds in Pacific Palisades. There, he learned to weave colorful lanyards and pot holders for his mother, to play a formidable game of ping-pong, to safely extinguish a campfire following the regular protocol of Smokey the Bear, and to hike the rugged terrain of the Santa Monica Mountains, all the while avoiding any close encounters with the dreaded foe known as poison ivy. In addition, his mother took him on weekend field trips to places of interest such as the Museum of Science and Industry in Expedition Park, or to the La Brea Tar Pits in the Fairfax district. Once in a while, they made a pilgrimage to the same meditation garden with the natural spring-fed lake favored by Natalie and Siddhartha during their student days at UCLA. One could find them there on Friday nights for long meditations, presided over by a barrel-chested monastic with a pronounced Gallic accent. Quite often, at bedtime, just before laying his exhausted head on the pillow, Jean Noel would attempt to broach the subject of his father with Natalie, but always to no avail. At such times, Natalie never failed to feel a migraine coming on, or conveniently remember a pot she had left boiling on the stove, or feel the vibration of incoming page that alerted her that some patient was an after-hours emergency. At this point, Jean Noel simply resigned himself to his fate. He would never know the true identity of his father. If anyone was Zuzu, it was Zuzu, his grandmother in Paris, who seemed to feel the enormity of his plight. Sometimes at night, just before laying his head on the pillow, when he would tell her how much he wished he knew who his father was, tears of sympathy would stream down her cheeks. Zuzu, if she really loved me, I think she would tell me, he whispered pathetically one night. No, Mignon. Zuzu contradicted him emphatically. I think this is because she loves you that she doesn't tell you. I think she's protecting you, or maybe even someone else. But who? The child asked closelessly. Who knows, Zuzu said, as she comfortingly stroked his shaggy head. That's why we must think kindly of her. Do it for me, s'il vous plaît, Zuzu gently urged. Do it for me, mon petit. Jean Noel had always held out the hope that with her dying breath, not unlike Citizen Kane before her, Natalie would hoarsely whisper the name he had yearned so long to hear. But now, faced with the grim reality of his mother's sudden demise in her sleep, he was forced to realize that his last hope had irrefutably slipped through his fingers, and there remained only one last course of action. He would take a trip to Big Sur, and there make inquiries on his own behalf. Surely somebody up there, an old-timer perhaps, would remember a young pregnant woman, her mother living in a goat house, even if it was only over 2 decades ago. With any luck, they might be able to supply the missing link to his noble quest to find his father. Jean Noel's fiancée, Alice, thought it was a harebrained scheme, but offered to go with him, nevertheless for moral support. This offer was good-natured, but declined, as her support to the endeavor would be better spent, Jean Noel explained, in taking care of his 2 cats for a week. He planned that he'd be away. It was while dropping off his 2 feline companions at Alice's basement apartment in the Sovereign Hotel, just prior to his partner's departure, that Jean Noel also left Alice with a shoebox full of old photographs Siddhartha Gompa had recently given to him. Found among Natalie's belongings, the photographs all depicted Jean Noel as they were growing up, photos tossed haphazardly into an old shoebox for the purpose of sorting out at a later date that never seemed to come. I think you'll enjoy them, Jean Noel chuckled self-consciously. They're all of me, and I haven't had a chance to go through them yet. My eye is probably too biased anyway, but you might gain some new insight into my checkered past, he said, meaning only to be facetious. Alice graciously accepted the custody of the two cats, as well as the shoebox, voluminous with old snapshots, even as she gave Jean Noel's dubious quest her blessing, but only on the condition that he would look up her dear friend and champion, Elsbeth, and take the artist to lunch at Fandango, one of her favorite haunts in nearby Pacific Grove. There, perhaps, under the watchful eye of Danseuse of Beauvois, with Edith Piaf warbling in the background, an element of sanity might be introduced into what Alice hoped would not evolve into a meaningless fiasco. Much later that evening, as a tenderly misshapen gibbous moon made its wobbly ascent into the vast darkness overhead, and the three cats subsequently came alive and scampered frantically throughout the basement apartment, as if being pursued by Orion himself, even as the archer made his swift run across the southern sky. Alice did, just as Jean Noel had insinuated, gain a new insight into his checkered past. It was lurking unsuspiciously at the bottom of a heap of photographs, far beneath, a triumphant Jean Noel sitting astride a giant tortoise at the San Diego Zoo, or waving jubilantly from atop the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse at Disneyland. Alice might have overlooked it entirely, because she was just about ready to call it a night when her eye happened upon it being a photo of what could only have been Natalie as a young woman standing beside a more mature version of herself. A massive black dog lay obediently at the two women's feet. They all appeared to be on a wooden deck in front of a rustic cabin. Thinking the photograph to be of Natalie and her mother in Big Sur, Jean Noel's birth, she turned the photo over and received confirmation of the thought. Natalie, Zuzu, and Lord Byron. Big Sur, 1974. Looking once again at the photo, Alice was struck by Natalie's youthful vivaciousness, which heartbreakingly belied the fact that the girl could no longer count herself among the living. How her smile beamed and radiated a warmth matched only by that of her mother, who stood so proudly beside her. The presence of an oversized black dog lying faithfully at their feet lent a vignette to a quaint, almost Victorian charm. The only incongruent thing in the photo was that Natalie wasn't pregnant, whereas her mother, Zuzu, most assuredly was.